New federal regulations for healthcare coverage, poised to take effect later this year, threaten religious freedom and conscience rights for countless organizations across the country. Will lawsuits and pleas for the federal government to change course make a difference? This is the CitizenLink Report. I'm Carrie Earll. Federal regulations attached to the National Healthcare Reform Law require all group health insurance plans to provide FDA-approved contraceptives, including some drugs that may cause an early abortion. Joining me to discuss these recent developments is Ashley Horne, CitizenLink's Federal Issues Analyst. Ashley?
Hi, Carrie.
Good to have you. Let's talk about this issue. Now, this is it's an offshoot, if you will, of the federal healthcare reform plan that was passed a few years ago called Obamacare, but it really threatens religious freedom and conscience rights. How did that come about?
It did. As you said, Obamacare, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, it did require that insurance plans offer free preventative services for women's health. So that means that the Department of Health and Human Services walked in and said, okay, we're going to make sure that contraceptives have to be covered under these insurance plans. And what that means is Plan B and Ella, which we know may cause early abortions, are some drugs that now have to be covered by these group insurance plans. Well, of course, religious employers are going to have a problem with this. We know that Focus on the Family opposed this mandate, and also the Catholic bishops strongly opposed this mandate.
Now, it's interesting that pro-abortion groups, the abortion advocacy groups, also have opposed having any kind of religious exemption. They want everyone to have to do this, including churches, denominations, anybody. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is there is a little bit of a religious exemption, but it's so narrow that it doesn't cover many of the groups that are alarmed by this.
It doesn't cover religious schools. It won't cover religious soup kitchens with broader activities that might be outside the religious realm. It doesn't cover non-religious pro-life groups. For the government to mandate that these groups have to offer these services, these drugs that may cause early abortions, it's just, it's beyond the pale.
It really goes to the question of what kind of conscience rights and freedom of religion groups have. Now, some groups, particularly colleges and universities, are fighting back by going to court. What's happening in the legal realm on this?
Most recently, Colorado Christian University filed a lawsuit. We also have seen that in November, Belmont Abbey College in North Carolina also filed a lawsuit. So we are seeing groups step up and say, you know what, we don't want to take this. We want to fight if we can.
Well, particularly, I would think for colleges, it puts them in a position that on one hand, they're teaching their students a pro-life ethic, but on the other hand, if they have to make potentially abortion-causing drugs available, that really sends a double message. Is there anything that Congress can do about this? This is a bit of a mess.
It is a mess. It's a good question. I think it's important to remember the Weldon Amendment, which is a pro-life funding restriction that keeps discrimination from happening like this. If you don't want to provide abortion or abortion-causing drugs in your healthcare plans, you shouldn't have to. The Weldon Amendment says you don't have to do that. HHS cannot use federal money to put forth that kind of effort. But we've seen that this has happened anyway, even apart from the Weldon Amendment. So I think Congress is going to really have to go back to the drawing board and say, what can we do to have maybe stronger conscience protection, religious freedom language to protect these groups that don't want to offer abortion-causing drugs?
Well, hopefully that will happen, and we'll keep an eye on that and bring you back for more developments. Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Carrie.
And thanks to all of you who've written to us to share your thoughts and encouragement. You can always let us know what you think by writing to us at mail@citizenlink.com. That's mail@citizenlink.com. And we also want to encourage you to pray for the preservation of religious freedom in our country as more and more examples like we've talked about today become apparent that those rights are being threatened. And remember, stand tall and be heard.